Just imagine waking up one day, checking your investment account, and seeing millions of dollars sitting there. For years, you receive your statement every month, and your money keeps growing. Everything looks completely legal. Then one day, you suddenly find out that a huge part of that money never actually exists. You discover that the man you trusted with your money had spent years taking money from new investors and using it to pay back all their ones. That is exactly what Bernie Madoff did. But there is a question. How did one man convince thousands of people to hand over their money for nearly 2 decades? How did so many wealthy individuals, banks, investment funds, and even charities fall for it? To understand that, we have to go back years. Bernie Madoff was born in New York in 1978 into an ordinary family. His father was a salesman and his mother worked in accounting. When he was just 22, in 1960, Madoff used money he had saved from different jobs, including working as a lifeguard, to start his own company. He called it Bernard L. Madoff Investment Securities. The company mainly focused on buying and selling stocks, and it became very successful. Madoff was also one of the early people to embrace electronic trading, using computer to make stock trading faster and more automated. That helped his company grow, and Madoff became a well-known and highly respected figure on Wall Street. Then, in 1990, about 30 years after he founded his company, Madoff became chairman of NASDAQ, one of the most important stock markets in the United States. So if someone had told you back then, this man can't be trusted, a lot of people probably would have laughed. Madoff had connections with wealthy people and moved in highly respected financial and social circles. His company's clients included wealthy individuals, banks, investment funds, charities, and even ordinary people. And a lot of the time, Madoff didn't have to go looking for new clients. The clients came looking for him. Why? Because people saw other successful and wealthy individuals putting their money with Madoff. When a wealthy friend tells you, I invested my money with Madoff and it's doing really well, trusting him suddenly becomes a lot easier. Madoff would sometimes even tell people that there was limited capacity for new investors or that he was no longer accepting new clients. That made investing with him feel like a rare and exclusive opportunity. And when some things feel exclusive, people often want it even more. So what exactly was Madoff promising people? He wasn't saying, give me your money and I'll double it. He claimed to use an investment strategy called the split strike conversion. In simple terms, he said he would buy different stocks and at the same time use options and other financial instruments to control the risk. For an ordinary investor, the explanation could sound completely reasonable. All they had to do was look at their monthly statement and see that the balance kept going up. But let's make this really simple. What exactly is a Ponzi scheme? Imagine I tell you, give me $1 million and I'll invest it for you. You give me $1 million. Instead of actually investing your money, I wait for someone else to come along. The second person gives me another $1 million. Then, after some time, you come back and say, I want my money back. So, I take $1 million from the second person and give it to you. You are happy. You think your investment worked. You might even tell your friends, I found someone who is really good at making money. Now your friend invests too. I keep taking money from new investors and using it to pay older investors. And because the older investors are actually receiving money, everyone thinks the business is real and successful. But in reality, no real profit is being generated. The problem begins when more people want their money back than the number of people bringing new money into the system. At the point, there isn't enough money left, and the whole thing collapses. That's the basic idea behind the Ponzi scheme. Madoff couldn't simply tell people, "Trust me, your money is safe." He needed to show them some things that look like proof. So his clients regularly receive investment statements. Those statements show different trades, stock purchases, sales, and profits that had never actually happened. But the truth was that many of those transactions exist only on paper. By the end of November 2008, the total balance shown in Madoff's client accounts was around $64.8 billion. But Madoff didn't have $64.8 billion in cash. That number represented the total value of the accounts shown on paper, including the original investments and the fake profits. So, if your statement said you had $3 million, that didn't mean $3 million was actually sitting in a bank account somewhere with your name on it. It was a number Madoff had created to make you believe your money was really there. But one person realized much earlier that something wasn't right. His name was Harry Markopoulos. He was a financial market specialist, and in 2000, he started looking closely at Madoff's performance. What he saw was strange. The market went up, the market crashed, economic conditions changed, but Madoff's returns remained strangely consistent and profitable. Markopoulos concluded that the numbers simply didn't add up. He also realized that if Madoff was really using the investment strategy he claimed to be using, it would be extremely difficult to produce such consistent returns. Markopoulos repeatedly provided information to the SEC, the agency responsible for overseeing America's securities markets. But despite those warnings, Madoff continued operating, and that's one of the strangest parts of the entire story. Then 2008 arrived. The financial crisis had begun. Stock markets were crashing. Investors were scared. And suddenly, instead of putting more money into their accounts, many investors want to take their money out. The Ponzi scheme only works as long as new money keeps coming in. But now, everyone wanted their money back. In the middle of all this, investors requested around $1.5 billion in withdrawals. But Madoff had only about $300 million available. He was trapped. There was no longer enough money to keep the system going. The Ponzi scheme had reached the end of the road. On December 10, 2008, Madoff admitted to his sons that the investment side of his company was a Ponzi scheme. His sons were shocked. They contacted a lawyer, and the lawyer notified federal authorities. The following morning, FBI agents arrived at Madoff's home. They confronted him about what was happening. Madoff admitted the truth. And on December 11, 2008, he was arrested. At the time, his client's statements showed around $64.8 billion. But the main account connected to this scheme held only around $234 million. A few months later, on March 12, 2009, Madoff appeared in court and pleaded guilty to 11 federal crimes, including securities fraud, investment advisor fraud, money laundering, falsifying records, and making false statements. The victims were there too. People who had lost their entire life savings. People who had spent years putting money aside for retirement. Families who had lost money they had planned to use for their children's education. They were talking about lives that had been destroyed after the scheme collapsed. On June 29, 2009, the judge handed down the sentence. Bernie Madoff was sentenced to 150 years in prison. After his conviction, Madoff was transferred to a federal prison. Years later, in 2021, he died in prison. But even Madoff's death wasn't the end of the case. The people handling the case spent years tracking down money that had already been moved out of the scheme. Some assets were sold, some money was recovered through legal settlements, and in some cases, money that had been paid to investors years earlier was recovered and redistributed to the actual victims. But maybe the biggest lesson from Bernie Madoff's story is this: trust can be the most powerful weapon in a financial scam. And now I have a question for you. If you had been living during the height of Madoff's operation and a wealthy friend introduced you to him, if you saw famous people and major institutions trusting him with their money and your own account showed profits every single month, do you think you would have realized that it was all a lie? Or would you have trusted Bernie Madoff with your money too? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to follow and subscribe.